Hey, what's up, you guys? Luke Coin here. Hope you guys are having a good day. I'm a little backed up on uploads right now. I don't know when this will go up, but let's get down to business. So the Snyder Cut is confirmed. Although you guys have probably already heard about that, I am a little late to the party. However, in case you've been in a coma for the past couple of years, or you're just not really a DC fan, let me very briefly fill you in. Essentially, all you need to know is that Zack Snyder, the director of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, was the original director of Justice League and voice crack. And now Zach has apparently been working on he was working on a 7 or 8 movie plan in secret. He claims to have had every DC movie mapped out with a planned ending from Man of Steel in 2013. And honestly, I do believe him. If you look at Batman vs. Superman, not being planned is not one of the flaws in that movie. There are many things that movie did right and many things it did wrong, in my humble opinion. But not being planned was not one of them. If anything, it felt like Zack had planned too much and tried to shove too many plot points in one movie. But I digress. Essentially, Zack Snyder has this ultra mega BFG Manhattan Project 8 movie arc that we fans just couldn't see yet, and Justice League was going to be his big break. He was finally going to cement his place in the DCEU, and it was going to be the biggest movie yet that would have set up the main storyline for the next JL movies, and he would have spawned several spin-offs. Now, good old Warner Brothers was not too happy with Snyder, as the previous 2 DCEU movies didn't meet their expectations, not to mention Watchmen, which wasn't even part of the DCEU. Now, I'm not saying these movies are bad. I think they're pretty decent. I kind of like a few of them. I'm just saying that in the eyes of the idiotic critics and the cruel box office, they didn't meet WB's quota of catching up with the current Marvel blockbusters. Needless to say, WB was really worried about Justice League, as if the film made it to theaters, then they would have had to let Zack finish his arc, or else they would be forced to end the DCEU on a cliffhanger. And obviously, it didn't. Zack endured a very terrible, terrible family tragedy when he was about 90% done with the movie that round, and he had to step down and go deal with a family tragedy and mourn. Then WB hired Josh Whedon to come in and basically just botch, edit, and reshoot a lot of the scenes from Snyder's Justice League. He was basically just hired to do WB's dirty work and make Justice League safe film, meaning that it had a lot more Marvel. It was a lot like more Marvel movies in terms of the humor, the colors, the overall tone. He made it a lot shorter by abandoning entire plot points, leaving out entire characters, and cutting entire scenes. Originally, it is estimated that the Snyder Cut was around 3.5 to 4 hours long, and the theatrical cut that we got from Josh Whedon is barely 2 hours long. Again, he played it safe. WB wanted it to be like the Marvel movies, and obviously Marvel movies aren't typically that long except for Endgame. Now, you might like the Whedon cut, and that's okay. I didn't think it was that bad either. But what matters is a lot of people didn't, and a lot of people felt like Zack was robbed, and he poured his heart and soul into the movie, only to see it become a completely different movie when he saw it in theaters. Not to mention all the actors that had their parts completely removed. So that obviously prompted the hashtag release the Snyder Cut trend that's been everywhere the past 2 years, and apparently WB actually caved in, and they're letting Zack finish what he started. So that's where we are today. Zack Snyder has been given a very small loan of $20 million by WB to finish his cut of Justice League on HBO Max next year, 2021. That's pretty smart on WB's part. That's, HBO Max. Now people are going to buy their streaming service. But anyways, now what does this mean for DCEU films moving forward? Will it be canon? Will it not affect anything? Be patient, as I am about to drop some mind-blowing news here. Snyder says that the entirety of the film was already shot, just some special effects to work out, or at least almost the entirety of the film was shot. He also shot about a quarter of Justice League Part 2, as they were being filmed at the same time, much like how Endgame and Infinity War were planned to be filmed together. Also, Henry Cavill, Jason Momoa, as well as a few others have been, I think they were confirmed to come back. I don't know, but they definitely have expressed their enthusiasm, and they've tweeted out hashtag release the Snyder Cut before. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Also, Ben Affleck is currently working out and bulking up despite not having any upcoming movies that require that, so he might be coming back. The only one I don't know anything about is Ezra Miller as the Flash. I am a little worried that, as he did get some bad publicity lately, and I really hope that he's not going to be recasted because of that, as I really do like him as Barry Allen. What I'm trying to say is, if the movie is already shot and there's just a few special effects need to finish, then why does he need $20 million and the main cast back? The most likely option in my mind is that he's going to try to finish what he started. He's going to try to complete a shortened version of his arc, And Snyder and his wife have already teased and played around with the idea of Snyder Cut releasing as a mini-series instead of a 4-hour-long movie. Now, if Justice League is already done, and he already has some of Justice League 2 filmed, then he has a moderate budget with the main cast back, and he could try to condense his entire arc into this mini-series. Now, if you don't know, Snyder actually revealed his entire layout for how his original 7-8 movie arc would have played out. He had a few panels explaining the plot of these movies, along with his complete cut of Justice League back in 2018. However, the footage was removed off of YouTube by Warner Brothers as they were still toying around with the possibility of making a Justice League 2. Now you can see, now you can do what I did, and you can just find plenty of videos on YouTube recapping the panel. But in case he wants to incorporate these plot elements into the possible miniseries, I'll refrain from spoilers. So don't worry about spoilers for the miniseries. Essentially, all you need to know is that Zack said that he'll try to change a few things with the Snyder Cut so that diehard fans that watched his panel still will be surprised. Now, to me, that sounds like he's just trying to do a miniature version of the main Justice League arc that he was trying to do, which I do like, as it would suck if he just released the original version of JL and it ended on a cliffhanger. Now that brings us back to the question, how will this affect the DCEU movies moving forward? If Snyder really does give us this amazing miniseries, then I could see this going one of two ways. One, it revives the DCEU. What I mean by that is the DCEU has not had an actual main movie since Aquaman. All the other movies like Shazam and Birds of Prey have been either based on minor characters not set in the DCEU or completely spin-offs out of the blue. If Snyder shows WB the power that the DCEU can still hold, then they may choose to make their own Justice League 2 and continue with the Whedon cut. And that brings us to the second outcome that I see, and it's probably more likely if it does do well. If Snyder's miniseries is good and everybody watches it, and WB decides to revive the DCEU with another version of Justice League 2, then it would create massive amounts of viewer confusion to the two different movies, not to mention the confusion that will already be caused by the two different cuts of Justice League. WB obviously doesn't want a Frankenstein monster of two separate canon DCEUs, so my best guess is if Snyder Cut performs a little too well, then WB will give him more funding and have him either completely give the entirety of the DCEU a satisfying ending as a whole, or have Barry reset the timeline like in Flashpoint. That would satisfy all Snyder fans and finally cut ties with the DCEU so WB can move on to more solo projects like the Batman 2021 and the recent Joker 2019. I think that this is where DC shines the most. I think they do their best work with solo projects, and you can still carry on with movies like Shazam and just have them maybe not be canon to the DCEU anymore. And if Snyder properly ends the DCEU, then everyone will be satisfied and ready to greet Robert Pattinson as the new Batman with open arms. But what do you guys think? Do you think the Snyder Cut will incorporate parts of Justice League Part 2 at all? Let me know in the comments below. That's going to do it for today's video. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see daily updates on WB Games Montreal's new Batman game, and dislike with constructive criticism if you want to see me improve. Stay awesome, y'all. Peace.